Advanced Dungeons & Dragons. There were several games released for the NES under the AD&D brand. You have Dragon Strike, which was a decent game. You have Heroes of the Lands, which was just awful. You have Pools of Radiance, which according to various reviews was actually pretty good. And then you have Hillsfar. And all I can say is that, well, this game is fucking atrocious. This game is one of the most mind-numbing, boring experiences in the world. This pathetic excuse for a game does not even have a modicum of decent gameplay. And if you want to torture yourself, if you're looking to play something that will induce a migraine, then this is the game for you. So what's so bad about Hillsfar? Well, let's find out. The biggest problem is that the gameplay is fucking terrible. All you do is ride horses and run around dungeons opening chests while running errands for your guildmaster. Horse riding is the cheapest thing in the world. These roads are more like obstacle courses and you have to jump over haystacks, potholes, and a plethora of other shit. There are also these birds that can knock you off your horse, so you have to push down to duck. The problem is that when you push down to duck, it only ducks for a second. You can't hold down to remain ducked. Therefore, if your timing is slightly off, then you'll fall flat on your face. Sometimes a bird will be hovering over a ground obstacle, making it impossible to avoid crashing. And in addition, the game will sometimes blindside you by having a bird come from behind you where you have no time to react. Now how fucking cheap is that? Walking around Hillsfar proper is a Class A pain in the ass. You have to press the arrow twice to move anywhere, which causes you to bump into doors, prompting a menu that you have to keep canceling out, not to mention the annoying lag time between steps. Occasionally you get these douchebags that harass you with these useless offers, such as this mage that offers to show you a magic trick, and one of his more interesting tricks is teleporting you into the arena to fight some big scary orc. The fighting scheme in the arena is primitive at best. All you have to do to win is mash buttons like some newbie playing his first game of Street Fighter, and you can easily beat this with your eyes closed. Unfortunately, this game is so awful that this is actually the highlight of the game. There's also this one part where you shoot targets, which starts off pretty easy, but after a while, it just gets impossible. The meat of this game consists of walking around dungeons opening chests. There's a time limit represented by a bar that gradually diminishes. Once the bar reaches a certain point, guards come after you, and if they touch you after the time runs out, you get the boot. Chest opening is the biggest scam in the world. You can try picking the lock, which presents you with a series of tumblers, but half the time you get a tumbler which you don't even have a pick for. In addition, there's a randomized time limit, which sometimes means you don't get enough time to pick the lock, and by the same token, you may get a shitload of time, and if you don't have the right pick, you have to sit there and wait for the time to run out. If you try opening without picks, you'll be presented with a series of options. You can try using physical strength, which only has a decent rate of success if your strength is at 18. You can also try to use a knock ring, if you have one. You can also try to pick the lock with an object, but that shit never works. This one option, don't open the chest, is interesting because if you pick it, it says it's too late, which is pretty fucking pointless if you ask me. Half these chests are empty or have garbage in them, which means you go to all this trouble just to find out that a chest has nothing in it. Some of these chests are rigged with traps, and if you fail to open them, you lose hit points. Yes, these fucking chests can kill you! The worst thing about chest opening is that sometimes you'll opt to pick the lock, and then you won't have the right pick, and then you try to open the chest again using other means, only to find that the tumblers have magically changed to ones that you can actually pick! How these chests are opened is totally randomized, and trial and error is the only surefire way to open these chests. So that's it. I just showed you everything that you do in the entire game. Riding horses, walking around Hillsfar, and running around opening chests. That's all you do. Hillsfar has some of the worst gameplay I've ever experienced. And to make things worse, there's barely any music in the game. I mean, just listen. The graphics and color scheme are so dreary and drab that it just adds to the boring feel to no end. And when it's all said and done, when you finally force your way through this piece of shit game, you get the most mocking ending ever. You get the same old blah blah blah, and then your guildmaster gives you a ton of gold and raises your hit points. And now you're a retired adventurer. Well shit, I could have used those extra hit points, you know, when I'm actually playing the game, not when I'm fucking retired. There's a certain type of shitty game. Games that have a great concept but are just executed poorly. Fester's Quest is a classic example of this type of game. Fester's Quest would have been a great classic Nintendo game if it weren't plagued with so many problems. Hillsfar, however, is not one of these games. Hillsfar belongs in a separate class of games altogether, the worst of the worst, along with games like E.T. and Back to the Future. These are games that are just simply hopeless, games that shouldn't even been conceived, games that render the Nintendo seal of quality utterly meaningless. And it's a complete travesty that at one point this game retailed for $50. This game, Hillsfar, represents the epitome of ultimate suckage. That concludes this presentation. Peace out.